everybody. I'm Kathy Klotz-Guest, and I'm the founder of Keeping It Human and the author of Stop Boring Me. And the best advice I ever got was really to listen to your gut. And if it's telling you to do something, find a way to make that happen.
Ooh, I love that. Listen to your gut. So who gave you that advice, Kathy? What were you doing when that happened upon you?
You know how, like, when you're in your 20s and you think you know everything, and people are like, you know what? Listen to your gut. And you're like, yeah, whatever. And it doesn't really mean anything because you don't have the life experience. And I can think of all the times that, you know, it was said to me in business, it was said to me in comedy stages by artistic directors that were like, you have a great gut. Forget about what other people are doing. Listen to your gut. And it took me a while, but now that I'm older, I go, oh, you know what? I get what they were saying. I have a good gut. And I think every human, I think, has that inner, like, yeah, I think that's what I should be doing. But we get talked out of it, don't we, by other people? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, experience, right? That we all think that our experience is the same, right? So, Kathy, this is what I think you should do. So to your point, right? Listen to your gut, not just a gut, right? Like, don't just listen to experts. Not that you don't want to coach, but what feels right for you is what's important. Is that what you're hammering at here?
Exactly, because the thing that you just nailed so much better than I could, is that when people give you advice, it's from their point of view, what they see and what they would do. And a lot of times, remember, when you're doing something new in the world, you see what's possible because it's you, and they may not get the full vision. So they're telling you what they would do based on themselves. And that may not be, and a lot of times it's not, what you need to be doing with your capabilities and your vision and your skills.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's often where we get our favorite unsolicited advice, right? So Kathy, here's what you should do. And it's like, well, hold on. Like, I had an idea about this. Yeah. I knew what I wanted to do. And I'll tell you that. And I get hung up on that sometimes because I'm willing to give unsolicited advice and it's worth exactly what they paid for it, which is nothing. A lot of times, unless we go deeper, right? Is that what you're getting at here?
Yeah, exactly. Like, if I ask somebody, like, you're a good friend, and if I go to you and go, hey, Phil, I'm like dealing with this kind of thing. What do you think? Then it's, I want your advice. And true improv style, it doesn't mean that you take it unfiltered. You take somebody's advice and maybe you parse it and go, what parts ring true for me and what parts just don't fit? And it's okay to say, no, thank you. It's okay to say, I appreciate you, and based on what your view of the world is, and God bless, because you see something I don't. And then to go inward and go, hey, but you know what? I'm the one that has, 20 plus years in comedy stages. I'm the one who was a VP of marketing. I'm the one who actually ran big teams. And I see the two together in ways you don't even see possible. So I'm going to do me. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's a good thought as we jump here into 2022 is, right, we have to do us because ultimately we are responsible for us. Yeah. We're responsible for those decisions. We're responsible for the outcomes or the lack of decision or the lack of outcome.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think this is where making a decision that's right for you has to really be with you, because when you follow somebody else's advice, you're the one who has to follow through on it. You're the one whose reputation rests or falls based on execution. You're the one who's got to see the vision and day to day find the motivation to keep going. So if it's somebody else's advice and it doesn't sit with you, how are you going to find the daily motivation to keep going when it gets hard? I just say, you know what?
Yeah, that's helpful. And we think about that, right? There's so much there to think about is where do we get that energy? And it's often internal. Most of us are intrinsically motivated, not extrinsically. Yep. I mean, sure, if money motivates you, and some people it does, and that's cool. But for many of us, we're internally motivated, intrinsically motivated. What gets me going isn't what gets you going. So, Kathy, you've moved here from marketing to improv to leadership and such. So what gets you going these days? Why are you excited for 2022?
Yeah, I think what gets me excited is knowing that every day I get up, that I'm kind of really leaning into all the things that make me me. And that helps people, and that it actually is helping people. So, yes, and marketing and improv and comedy, all those things go together. I also think so much of it is day-to-day leadership. It's not just marketing and sales, it's how we live our lives. I mean, I think I've always believed improv and comedy are the language of not only business, but they're the language of our day-to-day life, how we should live our lives. And to me, that's a personal leadership. It's not just business leadership. So I kind of, for me, I get excited about thinking bigger, a bigger vision of what I can do and bring, and maybe in some ways seeing things that other people don't. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that absolutely is why you coach on transformation. That's why you speak and train on transformation, because to transform, we have to see that outcome. I would say, the caterpillar may not see that they become a butterfly, to use the oldest cliche in the book, but they know that there's something more that they could not have seen without some help, without some transformation. And sometimes that hurts a lot. So talk to me about that, Kathy. What are some of the maybe pitfalls of transformation that can prevent us from becoming who we need to be?
I think one of the big pitfalls I see, and we all do it, is we have such a vision for our lives of what it should be, and we have to sort of accept where we're at. So I call these truth gaps. Like, we all have these big, giant, like, human truth gaps in our lives between where we want to be and where we are. And most people struggle to accept that. So they never make the change because it's too painful. It's too painful. And we can't change if we're not willing to look at that part of our lives and go, ew, yucky. But at the same time, laugh at it. Like, if we could be more patient and have more empathy for ourselves, I'm telling you, if you can look at your own truth gap with humor, imagine how that changes your empathy muscle towards yourself and other people.
Interesting.
That's a big one. That's a big
one. Huh. So let's dig into that one a little bit before we move on to the next gap here. So diving into our own truth gap between where we are, where we want to be, and maybe even, the truth that, is this even something I really want? Or is this something that somebody else wanted? Is that a truth gap that we get stuck in?
Oh, yes. It's like living somebody else's truth gap. It's like, that is, you fell into a crevice and it wasn't your crevice to fall into. It's like, and unless it has chocolate and tequila, for me, I'm not interested in your truth gap. Like, I need to own what I want. And so the truth gap that you have to explore, every human, I had to, you have to, everyone has to, is, what do you really want? Like, and the biggest thing, Phil, is people are so afraid to admit it, because if they admit that what they really want isn't what they're doing, we're depressed, we get scared, we think, oh my gosh, I'll never get what I want. And it's scary to confront. But the only way the truth gap really works for ourselves is if we're willing to look at what we really want. We don't have to tell anybody, right? Just, what do you really want, and where are you with that? That it can be sometimes a very shocking, hard to look at gap, but it only works if you're willing to be honest.
So asking ourselves what we really want, even if it's just us, right? And then knowing where are we right now. I think those are two powerful things. I'll tell you, today's kind of the first work day of the year for me. And so I'm looking, every year I look at things. So I had to write down my measurements this year, right? What's in my bank account? What do I weigh? What am I working on? Where really am I with those things? And I'll tell you, I don't want to face the truth on some of those. I'm like, oh, those suck. So how do we own that, Kathy? How do we find that humor so that we can own our own stuff, so that we can actually take those actions?
Okay, so everyone has psychological junk in their trunk. Everybody does. So you're human. Congratulations, we all have it. Some of us have a duffel bag. Some of us have a U-Haul. Size doesn't matter. It's about looking at your life and find the humor. For example, one of the things I really wanted to do was work on my third book during COVID. And I didn't. You know why? Because I was like, for 6 months, I was like curled up in the fetal position going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But be honest with yourself and laugh at that. Sitting on the couch thinking about doing exercise isn't getting you closer to your fitness goals. We all do it,
Crap.
right?
Oh,
Sitting
crap.
on the couch, swiping away on Tinder isn't helping you meet somebody in real life. So here's what I want you to do. Get very clear on what it is you want. Not your mom, not your friends, what you want and where you're at. Find something, whether it's a fitness goal, a money goal, right? Whatever it is, and find the humor in it. Envision yourself like, yeah, you know what? I want financial independence. But meanwhile, you're spending all your money on Starbucks and buying clothes you never wear. Instead of getting angry at yourself, find the humor and the absurdity in it. I mean, hello, right? I envisioned I was going to do all this stuff. And I mean, I was like parenting, doing perimenopause. I said it in a pandemic. And I was like, make it stop. But if you can laugh at that and own it, my God, how freeing. Because now you're accepting your imperfection. Don't beat yourself up. Laugh and accept that imperfection.
Ooh, radical self-acceptance is a
Radical.
powerful thing, that, but it's a hard thing. But if we have humor, it
Yes.
can be much easier, right? To your point,
Yes.
I think that is our answer, right? That's
Yes.
it, Kath. So that's good. So we find the humor, we laugh at ourselves. Maybe we trust our spouse or one or two friends. Not everybody,
Yeah.
because we don't want them laughing at us. We want them
No.
laughing with us, right?
With us. This is not about putting ourselves down. Because most of the way that we do these New Year's resolutions, I mean, Phil, you know, because you're all about change and sales mindset and things like that. To shift a mindset, to create a mindset change with anything is we have to see what's possible. But we can't do that if we're beating ourselves up. We have to have some self-love and acceptance and say, here's the humor. Here's the like, here I am wanting to be a bikini model. Cut to I'm on the couch eating like, Snickers every day as I make the pandemic stop. Right? Find that to laugh at. Share it with some close friends that you trust that will say, I love you, I hear you. Then pick one thing you can do differently. But I'm telling you, change doesn't happen with beating ourselves up. It comes with the self-love. And humor is radical self-love. Just,
Yeah.
yeah, stop judging yourself.
There you
Right?
go.
That's what your family is for.
Yeah, I guess, right? Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully not. But Kathy, before we move to the next gap here, I want to talk a little bit about that. You said, family does that, but let's talk about a people diet, right? Because we've talked about this a little bit. Do we have to keep everybody around us just because the world says we should? Or how do we decide who stays in our life?
Man, I think it's such a brilliant question, Phil, because I think we've all been through so much lately in the last 2 years that I think many of us have changed. I dare anybody say the last, almost 2 years hasn't been transformational in some way for us. And look, the transformation wasn't necessarily chosen. So you have to, I think the really important thing is to look at your life and to see who has your back. I come from the world of improv and comedy. And in improv, we have a saying, I got your back. And the really important thing is when you turn around, who is there that loves you no matter what? Because you need those people. You need to show up for those people and they need to show up for you. And it's okay to go on a people diet of people who don't bring you joy, who never support you. The friends that are never happy for you. As soon as you get something wonderful, they find a way to shit on it. Or they're like pigeons. They're like pigeons on your brand new car, washed car. Or they're the people that as soon as you have a big milestone, instead of celebrating with you, which is the correct response in the friendship manual, they're the first to go, oh my God, how'd you get that? How'd you get that? What did you do? Like they can't be happy for you for 5 minutes. So I hate to say it, people who don't express joy have your back, and people who don't share your values of integrity and you're out of alignment around them, you're trying to fit in, to squeeze in. I'm sorry to say, you don't need those people. You don't need those people.
Wow. So how do we get rid of them, Kathy? How do we go on this diet? And I mean that, right? Because sometimes this can be gentle. This doesn't have. I mean, or maybe not, right? Maybe we have to rip the bandage off. But I don't know. I guess for me, like people are at the heart of my heart.
Yeah.
They're right in the center.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. So what do you think, Kath? How do we make this better? How do we go on this people diet?
I think there are people that sometimes you have to have a conversation with if you think that they can either opt in or opt out. If you think there's something there's a value that they might see how you feel, you try. And then if they go, it's more important to me to be liked in this cool group than it is for me to stand up and do the right thing, you let them go. And that may mean, like, not in a mean way. Like, there's very few people that I've ever, like, blocked. There's very few people. I just stop responding. I stop commenting on their posts, and I kind of let them slip away, right? It's like Leo DiCaprio. It's like, I love you, but you're dying. I got to let you go. Although there was room on that thing. Can we just agree that there was room for him in Titanic on that little thing? But that's another thing. Sometimes we got to let them go with love, and just, if they come back and have a change of heart, great. So you don't even have to be mean. You don't even have to have a formal conversation. Honestly, this sounds maybe like a business version of ghosting, but really start to reduce your interactions. See how you feel. Does it make you feel better? I know that there are people that I kind of stopped, commenting on, and honestly, my world got better. My world got better. Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. So
Yeah.
we got a couple steps here there that I just want to unpack. So first, we can stop interacting.
Yeah.
That's a really good step to people diet. Second step, we could maybe unfollow them. And then if they still don't get it and it's still not working and it isn't helping enough, I would say that's when we move to the block, right? That's when we move to the cut them completely out. And whether they know it or not, I'll say some of the people I've blocked, I really was worried about, and they don't really care. Like, there's nothing there. It's so interesting. Like, it was the story I told me, but it's not really the truth. They could give a crap. And I'm like, wow, why didn't I do that years before?
I think you are so right. I think blocking is sort of the, like, escalation path. And look, there's times you have to block people. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, last year, well, a year and a half ago, 2020, we had to block a lot of our friends for a lot of the stuff that they were causing in our lives. And I think here's where the truth gap doesn't just apply to, your business goals and your life goals. Look at your friends. I mean, I'm sorry. Are those people showing up for you? Would they have your back? And I realized a lot of the people that, in some circles that I was saying, no, give them a chance. They're going to change. They're going to see it. Not only did they not care, it just wasn't important to them. And the reality I had to accept was we were not aligned on values. And there was no way to get there. And there are some things that are just non-negotiable for me, and my values are one of them.
Yeah. So, yeah. And even though you use humor and you can maybe laugh at yourself for that, ultimately we have to make that hard choice. And maybe that does require less humor and more seriousness, right?
It does. I think the way that I try, you're so right. Sometimes humor is a great response to be kind to ourselves. And here's the thing. Having a sense of humor when you have to let people go can be kind to yourself too. Sometimes it's the kindest thing you can do because they're not serving you. They need something different. They're on their own growth journey. But here's the thing about when you first have humor for yourself, I think, even though you have to be serious, you switch to seriousness to sort of do what you got to do. You can have humor and compassion for other people. And the way that I let some people go was their journey. They're on a life journey that is just not my path. We're on two different planes of emotional sort of, development, and their journey is not my journey, and God bless. And let them go with empathy, and not with any kind of rancor, but empathy. But I think it starts with you having empathy for yourself to say, I deserve better. I deserve better friends. I deserve people who, when I turn around and life is hard, they got my back.
Yeah, for sure. So that sounds to me like an empathy gap. Is that one of the other gaps, or what's another gap we should be talking about here besides the truth gap, Kath?
Well, the truth gap is so connected to empathy, and the empathy gap is another one. Look at the values gap. Look at the values gap in your life. Where are you showing up for yourself? And then where are you? And it's another type of truth gap. Where are you showing up for yourself, and where are the people around you maybe letting you down? And here's the thing. Be very honest with yourself. Is it about them, or is it about us? And are we trying to fit in where we really don't belong?
How do we know, Kathy? How do we know that, right? Because sometimes I think our own experience clouds our vision, if you will, and maybe our values. And sometimes, some are prone to more, oh, it's my fault, and some are prone to, nope, obviously everybody else's fault. So how do we kind of find that gap and be truthful with ourselves?
Well, here's the thing that I sort of apply. I look at spaces and places and the faces that you've surrounded yourself with, and ask yourself really honestly, do I have to be somebody else to fit in? Am I being somebody other than myself to fit in? And if the honest answer is yes, then take some ownership of the fact that you've wanted so badly to fit in that you contorted yourself and settled. So take some responsibility with compassion. Don't beat yourself up. Don't You're not there to change the people that you're trying to squeeze in with. You can't do that. But you can say, you know what? I got to take myself out of this situation because it does not bring out the best in me. It makes me feel awful. And I don't like who I am when I'm in those situations.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I had a job once where they really did not like the fact that not only do I wear bright colors, but my personality is a little different than everybody else's. I know that's true. And they actually asked me to not in a jerky way like that I am. I don't know. At least I try not to be, right? But they were like, yeah, well, if you could just kind of be less you, Phil, and like really not share your opinions about stuff. I'm like, hi, I got to raise my hand here. That's why you hired me. Like, you hired me to bring what you're asking me to take back away. So clearly, it's time to move on. Is that what you're finding too?
100%. 100%. I mean, if you cannot be you in an environment, get out of there. I mean, the reality is like, I'm like you. I mean, I'm a woman with a corporate background who also has a comedy background, right? I get paid for my opinions, but it's to help move you forward. It's to yes and you forward. And if people don't want to hear it and you've got to be somebody else, if you can't speak up and say, hey, take a look at this. These things are hurting the community. We have some issues here that other people, and if people's first reaction is to get angry, then maybe that's not for you, or to tell you to be less, or to be, I've had the same thing. Kathy, we love you, but could you just be less you? No. And I think every human being, I think everyone knows that because we've all experienced being in a place where maybe it just didn't feel right.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it often doesn't come at us that clearly. No. As much as, we're kind of making fun of it, it's not as easy as somebody saying, hey, just be more or be less you. It's often more subversive. It's often more subtle, right? People ask those questions like, if you could just, and you're listening to that and you're like, why? Like, something just doesn't do it. And that's the gut check that we have to give. It gets back to your first point, right? Yeah. If you feel something is amiss, like, take a hard look. Is it you or is it them? Yeah. And then be willing to move forward, right?
Totally be willing to move forward. And the reality is that sometimes we get it wrong too. Sometimes, it's easy to blame everyone else. Yes, and we also have to own responsibility for going, you know what? I have a choice and I can take myself out of those situations. And, the reality is I think it's a whole lot easier to take responsibility and remember that we have some ability here. We can make a bold choice, which is to yes and other people where they're at. Your journey is your journey. Yes, and my journey is over here. Godspeed. I'm going to move over here. It doesn't have to be rancorous, or it doesn't have to be, with any animosity. I think it's just choosing the people diet that makes you feel like I can be me here. That environment, the people around you that love you for being you.
Yeah. Wow. Good reminders. So what's one more gap here, Kathy, as we're moving along here? We got the truth gap, we got a values gap, kind of that self gap or friends gap that we've talked about here. What's one more big one that we often overlook that can help us really transform?
I think one of the biggest other kinds of gaps is really looking at our own joy gap. I think joy gap is a big one for me. It's, they're all connected. All these gaps are connected, right? And I think it's where are you finding joy? What's blocking your joy? And this is a really important one. Pay attention to your feelings. If you're if you go into a group or an employer, or you're around certain people and your joy just isn't there, really be honest with yourself about why. What is blocking my joy, right? What is joy blocking me? What is that? And who's joy blocking me, and why? And really take a hard look at that. And again, anytime you have to take a hard look at your life, try to find the humor in it, because honestly, if we can laugh at ourselves first, it's a whole lot easier to admit and then make the shift.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it doesn't feel so painful, right?
It's not. It doesn't have to be painful. We're all human. We all have gaps in our lives. Everybody does. And it's okay to be imperfect and to admit, because that's, congratulations, you're human. But I think one of the biggest reasons why we fail with a lot of these shifts is because we beat ourselves up. Why can't I get it right? Why can't I be better? And we beat ourselves up. And, compassion is what gets us there. Empathy and humor helps us reframe in a positive way, in ways that beating ourselves up and more judgment's just never going to do. It's never going to do, right? It's never going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Laughing at ourselves is so helpful, and finding ways to find that humor is so powerful. So Kathy, tell me, give us a little teaser here. What's book 3 going to be about? I know it's not going to be out for a while yet, but tease me a little bit here. What's book 3 about?
I think book 3 is really going to have a thread of what we're talking about, which is the personal and business transformation of humor. It's going to be, and all my other books have been sort of like, marketing, storytelling, and humor and all that other stuff. This is really going to be, I think, the heart of the pyramid, which is kind of more self-actualization. I know I sound like one of those like coaches. Oh my God, I am. But it's but it's not really, honestly. It's just, I think sometimes we forget. We get so hung up on humor being scary because we think it's about being funny. And I want to disabuse us of that notion. It's not about being funny for other people. Humor is about owning your own joy and being honest with yourself and going, hey, I'm entitled to laugh. And even if nobody laughs, I think it makes me happy. And when I have humor, and yes, I add myself, humor and improv, it's so much easier for me to change my mindset. And so I want people to understand that. So I think the book 3 is going to have a whole lot of that thread in it. Yes.
That's awesome. Good. Yeah. Good. Well, I love that definition of humor. And I think that's something that we can bring to our lives every day. Own your own joy. Find ways to be happy and joyful in where you are and what you are, and mind that gap. Ask yourself, do I have to be someone else to fit in? And if so, get the heck out of there. But start by getting clear on what you want and where you are right now, and find the joy in that. Would that be a good way to sum up what we talked about today, Kath? What did I miss?
Absolutely. You want that mind shift? Mind shifts never start with self-flagellation. We got to stop beating ourselves up. Have some humor. Laugh at it. Own it. Give yourself some of that self-love and radical self-acceptance. Absolutely. Yeah. And guess what? We all while you're laughing at yourself, understand that everyone else has their own truth gap too. You're not alone. You're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not special, but you are, just like everybody else, right?
Exactly. Your mama wasn't lying to you. You are special, just like everyone. Yes.
That's right. Yeah. So, Kathy, if folks want to get more of your goodness and want to get connected to you and have a conversation more deeply about transformation or humor or joy, where would they go?
Well, you can go to keepingithuman.com. You can also connect with me here on LinkedIn, Kathy Klotz-Guest, at all the socials. But yeah, keepingithuman.com or LinkedIn are the primary ways, and I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Awesome. So folks, get connected, get transforming your life and your work with some humor. Humor is about owning your own joy. Kathy taught us that very well today, and I'm grateful for her and grateful for you for listening, for watching, and for bringing me joy every day. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate you, my friend.
Oh, back at you, Phil. Back at you.